Samantha to now say that she has been bullied online every day for 10 years. Not only that she was the most trolled person in the world, now she says that they actually wanted her to die. This is, of course, complete balderdash from a woman who has attending her best life this week in Australia, one of her internet trolls, who to this day says that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, faked her cancer.
There is a document tucked away in a dusty archive that might just be the most dangerous piece of paper in the world for the British royal family. It isn't a secret treaty or a hidden map. It's a copy of 17 magazine from March 1997. For decades, we've been told a very specific story about a young girl from Los Angeles who dreamed of the spotlight and eventually found herself in a castle. But as we move further into 2026, that fairy tale is facing a reality check that no amount of PR can suppress. Something big just dropped, and it has people doing a double take across every corner of the internet. Samantha Markle is stepping back into the spotlight. And this time, she isn't just bringing family grievances. She's bringing what she claims is irrefutable physical proof that the world has been misled about Meghan Markle's actual age. For years, the story of the Duchess of Sussex has felt like a perfectly polished, high-definition production. But lately, questions are popping up faster than the palace can manage them. And the official version is starting to look like a script that's been edited one too many times. Is it possible that the woman the world knows as a 44-year-old duchess is actually hiding a 5-year secret? Social media is buzzing. The pressure is building. And what surfaced in that 1997 archive might completely change how you see this entire story. For a long time, the public ignored Samantha Markle. She was painted by the mainstream media as the disgruntled half-sister, a background character in a grand romantic saga who was simply looking for her 15 minutes of fame. But as the legal battles of 2026 reach a fever pitch, people are starting to rethink those early warnings. What once sounded like background noise is suddenly getting a second look, and the skeptics are asking if those quiet alarms were brushed off way too fast. Even some of the most veteran royal reporters have started to admit that Samantha's claims are checking out factually. It isn't just about family drama anymore. It's about dates, patterns, and gaps in a life story that simply don't add up when you put them under a microscope. Look closer at the records. Every birthday post, every milestone, and every carefully shared throwback photo is being analyzed frame by frame. When you look at the evidence, the media built a clean, picture-perfect timeline. But Samantha kept pointing at the tiny cracks in the polished image. What if those quiet warnings weren't just noise, but a roadmap to a secret that's been hidden in plain sight for over 30 years? The real catalyst for this global conversation is that specific issue of 17 magazine. This isn't a digital post that can be deleted or a Wikipedia entry that can be edited by a PR firm. It is a physical artifact of the 90s. In that March 1997 issue, a young woman from Los Angeles is featured in a lifestyle spread, and the text explicitly lists her age as 21 years old. That woman is Rachel Meghan Markle. Now, if we follow the official royal biography, Meghan was born in August 1981. That would make her 15 years old in the spring of 1997, a sophomore in high school. But look at the photos. Look at the context of the article. She is presented as an adult, a woman with a career trajectory and a life that doesn't fit the profile of a mid-teen high schooler. The math here is straightforward, but the implications are staggering. If she was 21 in 1997, the math places her birth year in 1976. That is a 5-year discrepancy, a 5-year adjustment that, if true, means she is turning 50 this year. People are wondering why such a specific detail would be misprinted in a major publication, and why that mistake happens to align perfectly with the memories of her own family members. But the magazine was just the tip of the iceberg. When you start pulling on that one thread, the whole tapestry begins to unravel. If she was born in 1976, it changes everything we know about her education and her struggling actress years. The official story says she graduated from Immaculate Heart High School in 1999. If she was born in 76, she would have graduated in 1994. So where are those missing 5 years? Where is the record of her life between 94 and 99? Some researchers have pointed to old yearbooks and graduation programs claiming that the records have been cleaned up to fit the 1981 birth year. This isn't just a matter of vanity. It's a matter of institutional transparency. If a future member of the royal family was able to essentially reset her biological clock and her educational history to appear younger to the public, it raises massive questions about the vetting process of the monarchy. But that wasn't even the most confusing part of the timeline. This age gap isn't just about a number on a birth certificate. It has massive biological implications that keep the shady rumors alive. If she is 5 years older than she claims, it changes the entire narrative surrounding the births of Archie and Liat. When the pregnancies were announced, they were framed as modern miracles, but they were also shrouded in an unusual amount of secrecy. No doctors signed the birth announcements, which is a break from centuries of royal tradition. There were no public appearances on the hospital steps. If the alternative age theory is true, and she was in her late 40s during those pregnancies, the medical reality becomes much more complex. This is why the conversation keeps returning to things like moon bumps and surrogacy. While none of this is confirmed fact, and we should be careful with speculation, the 1997 magazine feature has given the skeptics a foundation of physical evidence that they never had before. When a topic keeps resurfacing like this, curiosity grows and people want real answers. But what Thomas Markle remembers might be even more damaging than a magazine clip. Thomas Markle is a man who understands the power of a perfect image. As an Emmy-winning lighting director, he spent his entire career making people look younger, better, and more vibrant than they actually were. He knew how to hide a wrinkle with a soft focus lens, and how to use light to shave years off a person's face. From his perspective, he wasn't just raising a daughter, he was witnessing the creation of a star. But lately, in his most recent 2026 interviews, he has hinted that he helped curate her history. He remembers her milestones with a clarity that only a father can have: the first job, the early auditions, the specific birthdays that marked her journey into adulthood. He has shared that certain major events happened at times that don't match the public version of her life. He recalls a graduation dinner and a specific milestone birthday that stood out. And when he checks those against the years, he remembers being on set for various shows. The numbers start to shift. He's mentioned that he felt his daughter iced him out, not just because of the staged photos, but because he was the only person left who knew the original lighting of her life. As the 2026 legal battle continues to unfold, Samantha Markle is pushing for a level of discovery that could change everything. She isn't just asking for an apology, she is demanding the original birth certificate, not the one issued by the state years later, but the contemporary record from the hospital. Her argument is that in the digital age, it's all too easy to update a database, but the physical archives tell a different story. She believes that the truth has been censored by a powerful media machine that protects the royal image at all costs. She's mentioned that her father has more evidence in his home archives, old VHS tapes, and dated receipts from her childhood that could blow the roof off the 1981 birth claim. We're talking about home videos from the early 90s that show a woman, not a child. If these documents are forced out during the discovery phase of the lawsuit, the palace will have a massive crisis on its hands. It's no longer about a family spat. It's about whether a global figure can effectively rewrite their own history. The mystery deepened even further when people started looking at the birth of Archie at Portland Hospital. In Prince Harry's memoir, Spare, the description of that day is almost cinematic in its perfection. He talks about a calm, intimate atmosphere, soft music, and even his own use of laughing gas. He describes a scene where everything flowed perfectly from beginning to end, and Meghan appeared strong and composed throughout the entire ordeal. But when medical professionals read that description, the feedback was almost universal. The timeline doesn't match standard medical protocol. Harry describes a very fast recovery and a quick departure from the hospital almost immediately after the birth. Generally, after the type of medical intervention described, patients are monitored for a minimum of 6 to 12 hours to ensure there are no complications. They aren't usually up and walking out a secret exit into a waiting car within an hour or two. This compressed timeline has led many to wonder if the story was simplified for the sake of the fairy tale brand. Leaving a high-security hospital in central London is a logistical nightmare. It involves security coordination paperwork and newborn checks that cannot be rushed. To do all of that in the window described in the book feels almost impossible. It's led to a surge in speculation that maybe the birth didn't happen exactly the way it was described in the official record. When you combine this with the age controversy, a pattern of narrative management starts to emerge. If the age was refined by 5 years to fit the Hollywood and royal mold and the birth story was refined for the memoir, what else in the official record has been polished for public consumption? It's not necessarily a claim that everything is a lie, but rather a realization that the public version is a very specific, controlled edit of reality. And what happened next would shock even the most loyal supporters. In the world of professional acting, image management isn't just common, it's expected. Actresses often feel the pressure to stay in their late 20s for as long as possible to land leading roles. We've seen many high-profile stars adjust their ages early in their careers. But when that actress becomes a global royal figure, those small adjustments become a matter of historical and constitutional record. The transition from Rachel Markle, the girl from the 17 magazine spread, to Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, required a complete overhaul of her public persona. Some believe that during this rebrand, any details that didn't fit the young, fresh royal tobe image were quietly tucked away. This would explain why old-school photos from the mid-90s feel like they belong to a much older era of fashion and culture. Every interview and every public appearance was a brick in a wall of a very specific, youthful image. But walls have a way of cracking when the foundation is built on shifting dates. Think about the ripple effect this has on the royal family as an institution. The monarchy isn't just a celebrity brand. It is a system built on tradition, accuracy, and hereditary lineage. If there is a 5-year gap in the records of a senior member, it calls into question the transparency of the entire organization. Some critics are even suggesting that if the birth of the children was handled with shady details, as Samantha claims, it could lead to questions about their place in the line of succession. This is high-stakes territory that goes far beyond celebrity gossip. It's about the trust between the crown and the people. If the public feels that they've been sold a character rather than a real person, the bond of trust is broken. And as the public becomes more savvy at deconstructing media narratives in 2026, the perfect image is becoming harder to maintain. People are no longer satisfied with a polished story. They want the raw, unedited truth. For years, the invisible children theory has floated around the darker corners of the internet. The idea that we rarely see Archie and Liette in public. And when we do, the photos are often grainy or strangely lit, has fueled 1,000 conspiracies. But when you look at it through the lens of the age controversy, it starts to make sense from a PR perspective. If the age of the mother was managed, then the timeline of the children must be managed with equal precision. Every photo is a controlled asset. Every sighting is a calculated move. This level of precision makes everything feel almost too perfect, like each moment was carefully arranged for maximum impact. And that's where the bigger question starts to land. If the timeline of something as major as a birth or a biological age feels simplified, people naturally start wondering what else in the story might have been shaped for the spotlight. The story of the Markle family is a tragedy of two different realities. On one side, you have the official royal narrative, a story of a young woman who overcame obstacles to find love on a global stage. It's a story of empowerment, modernization, and breaking boundaries. On the other side, you have the version Samantha and Thomas have described over time. Not the polished, perfectly structured story seen in headlines, but something that feels more like a rough sketch. In their telling, Meghan wasn't just a teenager figuring things out in the mid-90s. They suggest she was already an adult moving with a level of calculation that doesn't match the young ingenue persona. And that's where everything splits. In one version, it all lines up neatly. In the other, the numbers shift just enough to make people pause. Not just a small difference, but a gap that could change how the whole story is viewed. As we look toward the potential resolution of Samantha's lawsuit in late 2026, the world remains divided. The official records are clear and widely accepted, and that's what institutions and media rely on every time. But the alternative perspective keeps resurfacing, driven by physical artifacts like the 17 magazine feature and personal accounts that refuse to go away. We have to ask ourselves, why does this matter? Does it matter if a duchess is 44 or 49 in a vacuum? No. But in the context of a public figure who has built a brand on authenticity and speaking her truth, It matters a great deal. It matters because it reveals the level of control that can be exerted over our perception of reality. It matters because it shows how easily a history can be rewritten if you have the right lighting and the right script. The move from Rachel to Meghan wasn't just a name change. It was a total reinvention. And while reinvention is the American dream, it becomes a royal nightmare when the details start to clash. When you line everything up, the family accounts, the magazine details, the school timelines, and the spare birth story, it creates a pattern that is becoming impossible to ignore. Again, none of this is solid courtroom-ready proof yet, but it's more than enough to keep the conversation alive. And at this point, it's not even about one single claim anymore. It's about how narratives are built, shaped, and maintained over time, especially in a world where image means everything. Because once a story is presented a certain way and repeated again and again, it becomes the version most people accept without question. But as 2026 is proving, the unquestionable is finally being questioned. So maybe this was never just about a birth year. Maybe it was about the power of the spotlight to obscure as much as it reveals. Maybe it's about how hard it is to separate perception from reality when every moment is being watched, analyzed, and managed. The shady details aren't just gossip. They are the friction between a manufactured image and a human life. And as that friction grows, the heat is starting to singe the edges of the royal tapestry. For Samantha Markle, the goal is simple. She wants the world to see the woman she remembers, not the character the world was sold. For Thomas Markle, it's about the memory of a daughter before the lighting changed. And for the rest of us, it's a fascinating look at the machinery of fame. But it goes even deeper than personal vanity or a strategic Hollywood rebrand. This is about the very foundation of the British monarchy. You see, the royal family isn't just a group of celebrities. They are a constitutional institution where dates, times, and lineages are the law of the land. If Samantha Markle's pursuit of the original birth certificate actually reveals a discrepancy, it doesn't just embarrass the Duchess, it triggers a constitutional crisis. If a birth was handled with what critics call shady management, and the mother's age was shifted to fit a specific narrative, the legitimacy of the line of succession itself could be called into question. This is exactly why the 2026 legal discovery phase has the palace on edge. It's not about a 5-year gap on a resume anymore. It's about whether the official records of the crown can be trusted, or if they've been edited like a Hollywood script. The internet sleuths of 2026 are also finding digital ghosts that the PR teams missed. They are digging up cached versions of old talent agency pages and casting calls from the late 90s that were supposedly scrubbed years ago. On some of these old archived pages, the woman we know as Meghan was listed with a range of ages that simply don't overlap with the 1981 birth year. It's as if the Rachel persona left a trail of breadcrumbs that the Meghan persona couldn't quite sweep away. And in a world where everything is recorded and nothing is ever truly deleted, those breadcrumbs are leading straight to the courtroom. Every time a new photo of the invisible children is released, the first thing people do now is check the metadata and the lighting, looking for any sign that the timeline is being managed. It has reached a point where even a simple birthday post is seen as a tactical move in a much larger game of perception. The mystery has grown so big that it has taken on a life of its own, turning every royal appearance into a puzzle for the world to solve. Whether the truth is hidden in a 1997 magazine or a locked hospital vault in London, one thing is certain. The world is no longer looking at the fairy tale, they're looking for the edit. Stay focused, because the next document to be unsealed might just be the one that changes history forever. Now it's your turn to weigh in. We've looked at the magazine, we've analyzed the hospital recovery, and we've heard from the family. Do you think there's a 5-year secret hiding in the palace? Or is this all just a massive misunderstanding blown out of proportion by the digital age? Does the age of a duchess change how you see her story? Or is it irrelevant in the grand scheme of things? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to hear what you think about the 1997 smoking gun. If you found this deep dive interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video so more people can join the conversation. We're going to keep following this legal battle and the search for the original records. So stay tuned for the next update. This is a story that is far from over, and the truth might be even more surprising than the fiction. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.